Hello, hello out there. Are we all okay? Right, let me just go to here. I'm sorry, I'm looking a bit bright. I've got a new webcam. I'm even trying to work out where it is. I've got a new webcam and it's like magic and it adjusts for light. And I mean, I look really young, don't I? You can't see any of my wrinkles. I think I'll keep it like this. I've suddenly lost 20 years. It's fantastic. I'm so excited. I think someone should put that on the features of this product, that it kind of takes 20 years off you. I'm sure they'd sell far more. Right, here we go. Just sorting out my my thing. Right. Hello, how are we all? Happy Monday. I hope you've all had a lovely weekend and are rested and refreshed and ready for the week ahead. So, whilst we wait for those slackers to arrive, those people who aren't always very prompt, obviously people gathering their cups of coffee and things like that, particularly if they're out on the Pacific coast. I think it's quite early on the Pacific coast. It's late evening, late afternoon where I am. So, if I have any more tea, I'll be climbing the walls. So, whilst we wait for whoever's going to appear, why don't you say hello and introduce yourself? I can see Matilda 900,004 is back. That is a login that I will never forget. So welcome back, Matilda. Can't remember where you were from. Was it Germany? Maybe. We've got oh gosh, you're really challenging me here. You're having a laugh. Alpetification 1. Alpetification, is there really, because you had to do alpetification 1, which means there must already have been an alpetification, which is extraordinary. Shall I ask Alexa what alpetification means? Is that something that's a bit high risk here on YouTube? We'll see. I might ask in a minute. Okay, we've got Jonathan York. Welcome back, Jonathan. Samba Roller. Hello, welcome back, Samba Roller. Okay. Okay, yes, Matilda, I can answer that for you in a couple of minutes. Alp is fine. You're from London, right? Okay, cool. Alpetification, I am going to have to Google what alpetification says. So Al will have to do. We've got Jigar. Welcome, Jigar. Welcome. DDD from Texas. Wonderful. And oh, Jigar, you're from Nashville, Tennessee. My cousin lives in Nashville, Tennessee with her husband. They're country music singers. Surprise, surprise. I will be going to Nashville at some point, I hope. Anyway, right. Anybody else would like to say hello? That would be lovely to say hello and see where you're from. Matilda, you're in Birmingham. Birmingham. That's my Birmingham accent. I don't think it's very good, but I've been working on it for years. It's terrible, actually. I haven't been watching enough of Peaky Blinders, really. I need to spend a lot more time working on my Birmingham accent. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, Matilda, if I did. That's not a very good Brummie accent, I know. Imad, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Right, so should we just get going? And whoever shows up, shows up. Oh, Imad, you've come from India. Gosh, it's quite late in India, isn't it? You must be about 5 hours ahead of me. So it must be like 10:30 in the evening there. Thank you for staying up late to spend time with us here. Jonathan, you're from Seattle. I love Seattle. Now I don't work at Amazon. I've got no real good reason to go back to Seattle, but God, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous little city, isn't it? I always wanted to go up to the mountains and play around in the snow, but yes, sad. I don't think I'll be going back to Seattle, but it was a beautiful place when I was there. I'm sure it still is. Right. Why don't we just get going? So I'm sure you know this already, but do you know what? I'm just going to check before we get going. I'm going to check the input on my microphone, which is ridiculously high, and I must be really echoing. So everybody, just be prepared. I'm now going to turn down the input on my microphone, because if I have it up as high as it is at the moment, you'll hear tons of echo behind me. So whilst I'm turning it down, you might have to turn up the volume on your side so that, oh, it doesn't seem to want to turn down. Oh, you cheeky thing. There we go. Right. So you may have to turn up the volume on your side because I've turned down the input on my side, but hopefully at least it, oh, my cheeky Apple, my cheeky Mac is jumping it back up again. Interesting. Maybe if I move it a bit further away. Hang on a second. Oh, the Mac doesn't like this at all. It wants to auto change my input levels. Interesting. All right. Maybe that's as good as I can get it. I'm sorry if it's really echoey. I have to do something about soundproofing this room. Right. So I am, if you didn't already know, Gigi. And I worked at Amazon for a number of years where I was a senior leader. And I guess most helpfully for you all, I was also an interview bar raiser. Whilst I was at Amazon as an interview bar raiser, I had the great privilege, which you don't really get to do unless you are a bar raiser, of being able to interview pretty much on any role in the organization. As a bar raiser, you can interview on tech and non-tech. You can interview on any job family. You can interview for any country. You can interview for any level up to 1, sometimes 2 levels above yourself. So I interviewed on dozens of different job families, many different countries around the world. And I got a perspective of the Amazon interview process, which you'd think was one single process, but in fact isn't, that pretty much no one other than bar raisers get. So if you speak to other hiring managers or interviewers at Amazon, generally they'll only interview around their particular area of expertise. So if you're a vendor manager, you interview vendor managers and maybe some kind of teams, adjacent teams to your teams. If you're a recruiter, you have an area of specialty. So you might interview recruiters for your own team, and you'll also interview around your area of specialty. So maybe you hire SDEs, or maybe you hire for retail, or maybe you hire marketers or procurement people, but you're very focused on a particular sphere. Bar raisers go everywhere, do everything, drop of a hat. So I have a unique perspective on the Amazon interview process that pretty much, as I've said this 3 times now, you're not going to get from anybody else other than if they're a bar raiser. Whilst I was at Amazon doing my bar raising thing, I noticed that there were people who were very obviously better prepared for the Amazon interview process. I asked a couple of questions and discovered that these people tended to have got themselves Amazon interview coaches. Being a good Amazonian, I got curious as to what that cost and found out it wasn't cheap. And it was probably going to be relatively inaccessible to a lot of people out there. So I started creating YouTube videos, sharing my expertise. And then when I left Amazon, I kind of built that beyond kind of the YouTube space. And I built my own digital courses, which if you stay around till the end, I will give you one for free. It's the best freebie on YouTube for Amazon interview. I promise you. I now have a whole ecosystem of Amazon interview preparation support for you. I'm here on YouTube. I do these live sessions. I have my interview academy. I do one-to-one coaching. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok. I am everywhere. It's Gigi galore. So hopefully not only this channel, you can find me in other places too. What this session is all about is you get to ask me questions. Ask me any question that you like here down on the right-hand side. I'll pick it up and I will attempt to answer it. I can probably answer about 95% of the questions that come my way. Sometimes people ask me questions that are so super specific about their particular technical role and the nature of their technical interview in their technical role that I can't answer it. There are thousands of different job families in Amazon. No one person can know all of that detail about all of them. So, but they tend to be the exception. Also, I will say, please don't ask me kind of general questions. Hi, Gigi, I've got an interview tomorrow. Any tips? For sure. I've got about 30 hours worth of tips all on the YouTube channel. So if you're just here for a general, can you give me some guidance, Gigi, please go check out the YouTube channel first. Try saying that after a couple of drinks. So with that said, why don't we just get going with the questions? So please do just drop your questions there in the chat on the side and we will get going. Also, let me know if you have any trouble hearing me as well. That would be useful to know. Let's get going. Ooh. I'll say hello to people as they arrive as well. I have a new webcam, which I think I said a minute ago, which it's the last one was, do you know what? I'm a bit far over there. The last one was a wide angle one and I looked really weird, really warped. Which direction do I need to go in? This direction. I looked really warped and I hated it. So I got a new camera. So hopefully that's all a bit clearer for you as well. And as I said a few minutes ago, it's taken decades off me. I mean, I haven't looked this good since I was in my 20s. I'm quite excited by this. I might take a screenshot. So vain. Right, come on, Gigi, pull it together. Right, we had a question up there from Matilda from Birmingham. So there we go. Let's pull you up there, Matilda. Let's see if we can get my head over the top of this. There we go. That's pretty good. Right, so you've got your panel coming up. You found out the HM you spoke to for the phone screen won't be at the panel. Is that normal? No, that is not normal at all, Matilda. So best practice is to have the hiring manager at the panel, because ultimately that's where the decision will be made as to whether to hire you or not. And the hiring manager is going to be the person who suffers the consequences the most if it turns out to be a bad hire. So it's very unusual that the hiring manager won't be at the panel. But sometimes it happens. It happens when life happens, quite honestly. Sometimes they just can't get there and there are other things going on and they've decided that's the only time that they can really have your loop. Other times you may be interviewing for a role that's quite a cookie cutter role in the nicest possible way, no offense intended. But there are some roles like brand manager roles that are so well structured and so typical and so similar across the kind of the gamut of brand manager roles that are open, that a hiring manager can be very, very confident that they could put their trust in anybody else who works in that space, another hiring manager from that space, and they would make the right decision as to who the right bar raising candidate would be. So not normal, but not the end of the world. The Amazon interview process is so robust that the outcome would rarely be very different if the hiring manager was there versus the hiring manager not be there. But what I would say to you, Matilda, is if they do offer you the role at the end of this and you haven't had a chance to speak to the hiring manager again outside of that one interview, ask for a follow-up interview with the hiring manager, kind of your post offer interview, so that you can ask them the questions that you need to ask them. Because the great thing about being able to meet your hiring manager at least twice in the process is it gives you lots of opportunity to ask them all the questions that you really want to get answered so you can make a good decision. So if you get the offer, which I really, really hope you do make sure you ask for a follow-up interview with your hiring manager so you get the chance to ask them the questions that you want before you accept the offer. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Moving on then. Please do, for the new arrivals, hello, please do put your questions into the questions box there and I will attempt to answer them. Excuse me. Okay. Oh, hey, Prashant. So you got a phone interview. Could I suggest what topics you have to focus on more? Not with that information, I'm afraid, Prashant. I mean, you could be applying for any one of many thousands of different roles. So my suggestion to you, Prashant, is to read your job description really, really closely. Please do go and look at my video on my YouTube channel, which is the deconstruction of the job description, where if you follow my guidance closely, get the hang of the video, you should be able to go through your own job description, which will give you indicators as to what the most important leadership principles are for the role. Obviously, it requires you to understand the leadership principles really well, but that's really the best way to find out what you should be focusing on, other than obviously asking a recruiter, which is also a very, very good thing to do. So Prashant, go ask your recruiter and then go and deep dive on your job description using the guidance of my video on my YouTube channel. Okie dokie, moving on then. Hey, Sam Marola. Right, you're through to loop. Congratulations. Well done. You've got a prep call. Wonderful, with your recruiter. What normally happens at these calls? Right, are there opportunities to improve your position as a candidate? Depends what you mean by improve your position as a candidate. So your recruiter has no say whatsoever in whether you get hired. None whatsoever. So be nice to them, obviously, because you don't want them saying mean things about you, but they don't get to take part in the interview process. They don't get to vote. They have no decision-making authority whatsoever in the debrief. However, they've offered you an opportunity to speak to them ahead of your loop. So you can ask them any questions that you feel would be helpful to you to improve your position as a candidate. So for example, as I said to Prashant a minute ago, if you don't already know the key leadership principles for your role, ask the recruiter at that preparation meeting. If you If you want to put yourself in a good position for negotiation once you get an offer, it's also worth asking that recruiter, how long have they been interviewing for this role? How important is it that they fill this role? Another thing you can use that opportunity to improve your position as a candidate for is to perhaps ask if they can give you any insight as to why previous candidates who've made it to Loop have not been extended an offer. That might give you some insight on what the hiring manager is really looking for and what has been lacking. So you can then integrate that into your performance to improve your position as a candidate. But basically, it's a bit of a gift that your recruiter has offered you some one-to-one time with them to get yourself ready for the interview. So anything that you think you would like to know to get you in a better position for your interview, use that time to ask the recruiter. I hope that helps. Okay, Matilda again. Can the recruiter tell you who the bar raiser is before the loop? They can, they might not, and it doesn't really matter. Okay, so you're going to say, Gigi, why do you say it doesn't really matter because the bar raiser is the person that makes the decision? Yes, they are, but you have to perform well in every single one of your interviews, because when your bar raiser, and sorry, I was oversimplifying, the bar raiser isn't the one that makes the decision. They can be the person who ultimately makes the decision, but in an ideal world, your skilled bar raiser will be able to get everybody to a unanimous position on whether the group want to hire you or not hire you. But I guess that's ultimately the point. The bar raiser, you'll interview with them, they'll take a view as to whether they are inclined or not inclined after that particular interview. But then when they go into debrief and when they see the notes written by everybody, your bar raiser is likely to be the most open-minded person on your panel as regards the level of data that they will absorb from what everybody else has said about you to then go on and make their final decision. I flipped my vote more often than not as a bar raiser because I was very open-minded and went into reading other people's data and the conversation in debrief with the expectation that I would learn more across the data from 5, 6, 7, 8, even 9 interviews than to just in my own interview. So the reality is that it's not enough to impress your bar raiser. You have to impress everybody because your bar raiser is going to take all of that data on board in the final decision. So maybe they'll tell you, maybe they won't. But at the end of the day, my guidance to everybody is your bar raiser isn't looking for anything that anybody else isn't looking for. Your bar raiser doesn't have particular questions that they're going to be asking you. Your bar raiser isn't allocated specific leadership principles. They are, in effect, just a more experienced, sometimes not even a more experienced interviewer. Sometimes you'll have interviewers on your panel that are incredibly experienced, more experienced than the bar raiser. They've just chosen not to become bar raisers in their Amazon career. So you've got to impress everyone. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day to you in terms of what you need to do in your candidate experience, who the bar raiser is. Hope that helps. Okay, moving on then. Oh, Amand, okay, you had your loop. It's been 8 working days and you haven't heard back. You've done everything you should do, chasing everybody up, but no response. Shall you assume it's a no-go? I wouldn't assume, Imad, at 8 working days, that it's a no-go. I have to be honest with you, I've got lots of connections, as I'm sure you know, the Amazon recruiters, and they are just bowed under the weight of it all. I'm sure you'll notice if you're on LinkedIn how many adverts go up for recruiters. So the recruiters are recruiting recruiters in order to do recruiting. Again, try saying that after a few drinks. So I wouldn't assume after 8 days it's a no-go. I would, if you can, I wasn't sure what SPOC meant in your question here, but if you can, try reaching out to the hiring manager. If you knew who they were when you were on the actual loop, try reaching out to them as well as the recruiter to try and get a bit of feedback. But it's not over until the fat lady sings, as the saying goes. I believe that's a reference to opera and how the traditional structure of opera has the soprano at the end, I think. So yes, it's not over until it's over. Fingers crossed for you. Yeah, quickly. Alp, I can't answer that. I don't know the salary ranges for every single role across all of the different countries of the planet. It is really hard to get data for salaries in the UK. I know this. The best sources that I found was, I think, salary.com. Glassdoor is there, but I'm not a big fan of Glassdoor. And I've also tried using indeed.co.uk. But yeah, it's not easy. But no, I don't know that anybody's going to be able to give you the salary difference between Seattle and London. It's just that type of data is not readily available within Amazon, let alone across many, many different countries of the globe. Sorry. Oh, okay. Fahad, I think I might have answered this when I was answering the question above. So very briefly, does the bar raiser consider other panel members' notes and have changed his decision? Everybody does, right? That's the way the Amazon process works, is you have one interview with somebody and you come to a decision at the end of that interview. You then get access to the notes of everybody in the interview panel, and you are required to read that information, absorb it, take it on board, and make a decision based on all of the data, not just the data that you happen to gather at your interview. And it is the bar raiser's job, part of their job, to make sure that all of the data is being considered when the final decision is made. And because that's their job, they are the person who is most likely to do that. But everybody is required to take all notes on board before they make their final decision. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Moving on then. Okay. Okay, yeah, Jonathan. Oh, what a cute picture. Oh, they're gorgeous. Oh, I'm jealous. Mine are like teenagers and pre-teenagers, and they're disgusting now. So they look so cute. So you've got ops program manager role. How far into your experience should you go into? So my guidance in my coaching, you'll see it on my YouTube channel. There's a video about it. I recommend that people aim not to go back much more than 5 years. The reason being that Amazon is using your performance of the past to be a predictor of the future. If your performance is demonstrated in the recent past, they can be pretty confident that that is how you currently behave. And if he dropped you into their business tomorrow, or however long your notice period is with your current employer, you would be very likely to continue that behavior. If that behavior is demonstrated from 10 years ago, and you don't give an example of that behavior in the more recent past, the Amazon interviewers are going to be thinking, okay, well, Jonathan managed to do this 10 years ago, but why am I not seeing evidence that Jonathan has been able to maintain that in more recent years? Why is he having to go back so far to show me his abilities and dive deep? So that's why I say kind of the past 5 years. What Amazon is looking for is consistent, high bar behavior over a period of time, which is why, again, 5 years is my recommendation. Now, if you do have an incredible story, like a career defining story that you really want to make sure you get on the table, and it's 10 years ago, that's fine. I am not saying don't use any stories beyond 5 years, but I do recommend that it be a very, very impressive story, because then the Amazon interviewers will go, well, okay, I understand why he went all the way back 10 years for that, because wow, that is actually really impressive. And they were probably operating at a much more junior level than they will be now. And if they can do that at a very junior level, then whoo, sky's the limit for what they can do here at a more senior level. I hope that helps. Okay, dokie. I'm just having a checking through. We've got plenty of questions. I don't want to focus on too many and run out of time. Okay, I will answer for this one for Alp, because I think everyone else can benefit from it too. So you were asked about ownership in the first round, and I'll write a lot. Should you expect other leadership principles in the final round? Well, yes, most certainly. Generally, it depends on whether you're having a technical or a non-technical interview. If you are going for a non-technical role, chances are that the interview that you have is made up of 100% behavioral questions. If it's 100% behavioral questions and you'll have 5 interviewers, each interviewer is supposed to be assigned 2 leadership principles. So that's ultimately, you're going to need to expect 10 leadership principles to be covered in your loop, assuming that you are having 5 interviewers. If you're going for a technical role, it'll probably be less, because in technical roles in final round, the interview tends to be divided up between functional competencies and behavioral competencies. So you've already had R, writer, loss, and ownership, which takes you down to 8 new ones that you can expect to have in your final round if you are going for a non-technical role. I would also suggest to you that ownership and our writer lots are going to be likely to come back around again in the final interviews. That's because the smart hiring manager, and not everyone's a smart hiring manager, but what the smart hiring manager does is front load into the early rounds the most important leadership principles for their role, because that's effectively a really, really good kind of high filter process, whereby the candidate can't show that they're bar raising in ownership and our writer loss if they are the most important leadership principles for the role. Then there's no point in taking them through to the final stage, because they're probably not going to pass because they couldn't show they were bar raising in the most important leadership principles. So generally, leadership principles that you get in the early round, you get again in the final round. Okay, let's move on then. Oh, yeah, I can do this one quickly. Oh, Tawadzera. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I do try and get people's names right, but okay. So if you're unsuccessful at the second round, is there a system to reject you whenever you apply again? Nope. Nope. That was quick. Moving on then. Okay, quickly, Alp. Yes, this is good for everyone as well. Can your recruiter give you some feedback about the phone interview 1 and 2? Possibly. So again, using that time, Alp, you could ask them, have you got any extra guidance for me in terms of where I should put my focus in my preparation for the final round? They won't tell you the exact feedback, but they will probably give you some strong guidance. So that's definitely worth asking. And I would suggest the same to everybody who gets a prep call with their recruiter. Ask them if there's anything they want to give you some thinking time on ahead of your next loop. Okay. Okay. Hey, we have an Amazonian. Hello, Neville. How are you doing? Thank you for joining. I do love it when I have Amazonians here. It kind of validates me. Now, of course, I know what I'm talking about, but still, it's nice to have Amazonians appear. So, Neville, you're doing an internal loop on Thursday. Cool. Going to from retail to AWS. Very nice. Is the approach towards internal candidates any different? No, no difference at all. The only difference will be, Neville, is you won't have a bar raiser, because bar raising is about bringing in, raising the bar on the quality of candidates from the outside of the organization. So you're already on the inside of the organization. So it won't be any different. You won't have a bar raiser. And the only other difference tends to be is that the size of the panel for internal loops is smaller. So generally, you'll only have 4 on your panel if you are an internal candidate. If you're a very junior internal candidate, actually, I think it even goes down to 3. Good luck, Neville. You only have to meet the bar, Neville. That's the other thing. So that's the big difference, is you don't have to raise the bar. You just have to prove that you meet the bar. Now, clearly, that's impossible for you to judge where that bar is. So you're always going to have to bring out your biggest, baddest stories you possibly can. But just for maybe a little peace of mind, you only have to meet the bar. Okay. Oh, and you know what? I just realized somebody, I can't remember who it was earlier, that, oh, it was Matilda. Do I do private coaching? Yes, Matilda, I do private coaching, and you will find the link to how you book private coaching with me in the description of this one when it goes properly live. But any of my other videos on my YouTube channel will have the link to how you check my schedule and book with me. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore that. That was very rude of me. Okay. Oh, Jason. Hey, Jason. Looking cool there, Jason. Oh, I'm so glad it's been helpful. Oh, you've got an L7 loop. Big loop, big loop. Cool. Yep. Drop me a line. Again, check out my availability there. Um, Next week is pretty booked up, so you want to get on there quickly. Again, you can find it in the description of any of my other videos. It won't be in this one because it's not there until I chapter it out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Felod. I'm loving all these people's profile pictures. They're so gorgeous. Oh, I love a sheepdog. Lovely. Okay, you didn't pass the screen one, okay, as an account manager. Can you apply for another account manager position or best try other positions? Okay, yeah, you can definitely apply again. There is no moratorium when people fall out in the early rounds. Whether you should apply for another account manager position or try something else is not for me to say. I don't know enough about you, why you why you didn't make it past the initial phone screen. So I'm afraid you're going to have to make that decision yourself. But yes, you can certainly apply again. There'll be no problem there. Okay, moving on then. Can I tell you who exactly the hiring manager is? I'm confused. How would I be able to tell you exactly who your hiring manager is? Is he from the same team you'll be working with? Will he be one of the 4 members of the panel? All right. So I don't know how I'm going to tell you exactly who the hiring manager is, but yes, the hiring manager is the person that you're going to be reporting to. And yes, they would, in most circumstances, be an interviewer on your panel. If you've made it to panel, you should have met them already. Sometimes on rare occasions you won't have, but I would imagine at this point you have met them. If you don't know who the hiring manager is, Fahad, ask your recruiter, because you should know who they are, because there'll be all sorts of questions that you would want to ask them, because they're going to be one of the most influential people in your life once you move into Amazon. So if you don't already know, ask your recruiter to tell you which of the people on your panel is your hiring manager. Oh, Matilda, I've caught up with you now. Hopefully I nailed that one. Okay. Okay. That's a good question. Gila? Gilia? Oh, I'm sorry. I can cope with your surname, Di Stefano, but the first bit I've just murdered. I'm so sorry. Please apologize to your parents on my behalf. I'm glad you find my videos useful. Final interview tomorrow for a tax analyst. Ooh, cool. How technical should you get your answers? Okay, so if you're being asked behavioral questions, tell me about a time when you disagreed with your manager on something that was you deemed to be important for the business. They're not that interested in the technical nature of the situation. They're interested in how you earned trust. Oh no, that's a have backbone, disagree, and commit. What am I talking about? How you had backbone, disagreed, and committed with your manager in that scenario. However, that said, you are also trying to make sure that the team interviewing you feels that you have the right functional skills to do the role. So I'm not sure from a tax analyst point of view whether you actually have functional kind of competency questions or you've done some kind of pre-test. You may have done as a tax analyst, but you want to strike some kind of middle ground where the first priority is that you talk about your behaviors and how you showed backbone and disagreed and commit. And then your second priority is to make sure that the interview panel appreciate your functional skills as a tax analyst. The other thing to bear in mind is your bar raiser will be probably not from the tax analytics community and will understand nothing about tax analysis. So bear that in mind when you are talking to someone. Usually a bar raiser would say to you, just to let you know, I am not from the team that you are interviewing for, so I won't be able to answer specific questions on that team. That's a big cue that that's your bar raiser. And it's also a big cue that you should be a little bit careful about using particular language, acronyms, information that is specific to your skills area, because they might not follow you. Hope that helps. Again, sorry about murdering your name. Moving on then. Oh, Shalini, you're back again and you still haven't heard anything. Oh, that's terrible, Shalini. Have you contacted the hiring manager, Shalini? Because if you've been through, I think you said through Loop last time we spoke, just go to the hiring manager. It's such a long time ago now. Yeah, I'd chase anybody you can on the Loop, quite honestly, Shalini. Start with the hiring manager and work through the rest of the interview panel. Use LinkedIn to try and get in touch with them. I can't tell you anything else to do beyond just kind of keep contacting people and asking for your outcome. That's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that, Shalini. Okay, next one. Bikram Deep. Hello. Can you reuse stories from the phone screening in the Loop? I recommend that people don't do that. I recommend they don't do that because you've already used that data. That data has already been used to pass you through to the next round. The other reason why I say not to do it is Amazon is looking for consistent behaviors and evidence that you perform at a high bar. And if you keep bringing back the same stories, you're not creating new evidence that you consistently behave. I like to have an analogy around witnesses in a court case. If you imagine that you are presenting a case to a jury, and maybe your bar raiser is the judge, and jury, in fact, no, they can't be the judge because they can't pass the sentence. But anyway, they pass the sentence. They can't pronounce you guilty or not guilty. Anyway, imagine that your panel is the jury. You are presenting a case to convince them that you are, in fact, bar raising. In a court of law, you would bring in as much evidence as you could, as much varied evidence as you could to be able to prove your case. If you kept bringing the same character witness back repeatedly, every time they said nice things about you, it would still be the same person saying nice things about you. It doesn't count more times just because they say it more times. And the same goes with your examples of your behaviors in the past. Just because you keep bringing it back, it doesn't mean that it kind of multiplies in its value. Its value is finite, once and once only. So I generally tell people not to. Now, that makes it quite hard sometimes because you get lots of questions and plenty of people don't have enough high bar examples to be able to do a unique example every single time. I appreciate that. Amazon appreciates that. So what I suggest people do is if they do need to bring the same story back, they try and use it for a completely different leadership principle. So they reshape the story fundamentally around a different leadership principle. I do an example of how you can do this in my interview preparation masterclass, only $40. But yeah, that's kind of the key skill. If you don't have a huge range of stories to be able to bring a unique story every single time, to practice telling the story to meet different leadership principles. And then if you do bring it back, at least you bring it back with a focus on a different element of it and it sounds less of a repeat. Okay, hope that helped. Bikram Deep. Moving on then. Jigar. So you had a first interview, they thought you were a good candidate for another position and they have moved you onto a different rec. Is it normal? Yep, very, very normal. Very normal. Okay, moving on then. Oh, Jason, don't talk to me about that front end system because it makes no sense to me and it makes no sense to any of the recruiters that I talk to either. No one seems to understand how that crazy front end works. I must find someone actually from a product manager who owns that platform. I might put a call out on LinkedIn because I don't understand it. Nobody understands it. So I'm sorry, I can't tell you what the withdraw status means on your application. It might actually even have nothing to do with you and might be that the actual rec itself has been withdrawn. Sorry, can't help. I know that's deeply unsatisfying, but sorry. Okay, moving on. Okay, I'm just going to do this quickly, Vamsi. You're scheduled for a senior manager for AWS RDS. Okay, I don't know what RDS. There are so many acronyms in Amazon. No one person knows them all. And do be careful, everybody, when you're talking in acronyms at your interview, because like me, they might not know what it means. Any idea what kind of technical depth there would vary? Okay, so don't really understand the question. So you're going to have to rephrase that question for me. Moving on. Amrit, okay. What's the best advice I can give for someone who's laid off recently? That's a massive question. I don't really understand whether it's the best advice for getting into Amazon or just some kind of, cuddle, hug type stuff. So I guess the best advice that I have for you is don't take it personally. It's probably not a reflection of you, and it doesn't make you any less appealing as a candidate to Amazon because your company has gone in through some difficult times and has had to let some staff go. So I guess that's my best advice. You are no less attractive to Amazon than any other applicant. Okay. Oh, yes. Good question, Elle. Hey, Elle. Quick question. This is your second time attempting for an interview. You interviewed 3 years ago for a different role. Does the answer you provide stay on the database? Yes, it does. It does. But I think the more important point here is, would anybody bother reading it from 3 years ago? I would suggest to you, Elle, it's probably unlikely that anyone's going to spend their time going back into a data set that's 3 years old. You've obviously moved on massively in your career. Your interviewers are going to be very time strapped. It's just the nature of working at Amazon, and they'll do the preparation that they need to do to be able to make it through your interview. And knowing what you said 3 years ago is probably not going to be materially value add to their ability to understand your ability to raise the bar now. So I would suspect no one's going to read it. Okay. Oh, I like these ones. These make me happy. Uzga from Turkey. I don't often get people from Turkey here, so that's nice. Oh, it's the first time you've ever been able to catch a live. Yeah, I'm sorry. Am I in a massively different time zone to you? You've watched all of my YouTube content and you have received an offer for this SPM, I know, senior program manager, I assume, rather than a product manager in TR Marketplace. Oh, congratulations. Please, everybody, congratulate Oscar. Hopefully one day it will be you too coming on here and telling me this amazing news. But I'm so, so thrilled that I have been able to support you in achieving your goal. I know you will have a fantastic Amazon career. Thank you so much for coming and giving me this information. It means a lot to me to get feedback from you all. I put massive amount in my YouTube channel. You know that. I put loads of effort in, and to be able to get this feedback is really special. So bless you. Thank you very much for spending the time and doing that for me. Good luck. Okay. Okay, Merv. So what would be the case if you're distracted due to the interviewer and their background? Should you discuss it with HR? Okay, it's recruitment. It's not HR. I know it's a semantic and probably not important to you, but hey, it's one of those bugbears for me. So HR is a different function in Amazon than recruitment. So yeah, talk to recruitment about it. I mean, Merv, I think it would have to be like pretty serious distraction for the recruiter to be able to do anything about that for you. But sure, speak to them, explain the situation. You never know. Felod, I think I covered this a minute ago when we talked about somebody who interviewed 3 years ago. Yes, the notes from your phone screen that you didn't pass they're not shared per se. They are on a system that once your profile is shared with an interviewer who will be interviewing you becomes accessible to them to read if they so choose. But Amazon's a very self-serve type organization. The information is there and it's up to you to go and find it and make use of it. So yes, it will be accessible. Whether everybody will read it, who knows? I was very rigorous, as you can imagine, and tended to read most stuff. Plenty of other people didn't. Okay, moving on then. Where are we in terms of time? Oh my goodness. It's 6:15 over here. That's crazy. Okay, so I'm just going to pause momentarily there and say, I need your help, please. Obviously, I put tons of effort into this channel for you, and in return, I have a very small favor to ask, and that is when you watch this video, please give it a thumbs up. The YouTube algorithm requires engagement signals to see whether the content that is surfacing is good content. And if it gets engagement signals, it surfaces that content even more. I'm sure most of you understand the principle of algorithm. The engagement signals that YouTube uses is the little thumbs up and if people write comments. So please do give this video a thumbs up, but also when you're watching any of my other content, please just drop a little note in the comments, give it a thumbs up. Even if the note is just, hey, Gigi, just saying hi, that would be amazing because that feeds into the algorithm and that's a signal that my content is good, which I'm very confident it is. And that will help show this content to other job seekers who I'm sure you would want to help as well. So to give you just a couple of seconds in order to be able to do that, I have a little video just to entertain you so I don't have to sing. So I'm going to play it. Please do give it thumbs up.
Like the stream, oh like the stream, oh like the stream, oh like the stream, like the stream, oh like the stream, oh like the stream, I like the stream, oh like the stream, oh like the stream, oh like the stream, like the stream, oh like the stream, oh like the stream, like the stream now, like the stream now, like the stream now, like the stream now.
Okay, hopefully you didn't find that too creepy, but if you have, given me a thumbs up. Thank you very much. If you haven't, why not? That's mean. Please do give it a thumbs up. Just a millisecond of your time would be amazing. Okay, so moving on then, let's see what else we've got here. Right, I'm going to try and get to some new people who I haven't answered questions. Oh, okay. All right, yeah, quickly. Rakesh, hello. So you did a loop 2 weeks ago. You got an inclined, but the team have given their position to an internal candidate. Yes, that happens not unusually. They said they'll try and find you another role and you might not have to go through loop, but it's been a week with no response and not even a call. How do you deal with this? Just follow up with your recruiter. That's all you can do. And also look for other roles and apply for other roles. It will be on the system that they think that you are a bar raising candidate. And if you apply for other roles and a recruiter picks up your resume and is interested in you, they'll see those notes on the system. But keep chasing the last recruiter and keep applying for roles yourself. Okay. Okay, Vamsi, I think this is your second attempt here, right? You've got a recruiter round scheduled this week for a senior manager position. Would there be dedicated tech rounds? Okay, so if you're saying you're speaking to the recruiter, you're just going through a recruiter screen, which is basically the first step where they want to chat to you. They want to find out what your experience is, maybe talk through some projects. So in terms of where you are with the recruiter, there won't be any kind of technical rounds talking to your recruiter. Once you pass the recruiter, assuming RDS is a technical role, which again, I don't know what that acronym actually means. Yes, if you're going for a technical role, there will be technical rounds, either 100% dedicated technical rounds, or there will be technical elements of rounds that are dovetailed with behavioral competency questions. Okay. Okay, yeah. Hey, E. Is it okay to say you have no answer to this question, but you have a similar story to this? Yes. Okay. Yes, yes. So this is definitely something that I coach and I recommend. If you are asked a question and you don't feel you have an exact answer, but you have something similar, I do have a video about this, which is I think it's called No Good Answer. This is what you do. What you should say to your interviewer is, I don't think I have an example that exactly matches your question, but I do have one that I think is kind of similar. So I just want to give you a 3-line summary of what that example is. And then please, could you just let me know if that's going to work for you? And literally give them a really, really short summary of what the scenario is. If it's dissimilar in such a way that it doesn't matter to them too much, because where it's dissimilar, it's not the bit that they're interested in, they'll say, no, that's fine, go ahead. They may say, actually, that story isn't going to work for me. I'm going to need a different story. If that's the case and you really don't have a story that matches, my advice is you say, okay, thanks very much. I want to make sure that I don't waste your time or my opportunity. I really don't feel I have a strong answer for that question. So please give me another question. You can ask for another question. There's nothing wrong with that. You just don't want to ask for another question too many times in the process, because then my point earlier about them looking for someone who is consistently performing at a high level, you then start to look like you don't consistently perform at a high level, that you've really only got a couple of good stories. I hope that helps. Please do check out the video as well. I think I say it in a bit more detail there. Okay, moving on then. Yeah, yep. Shashank. There you go, Shashank. I'm going for that. Yes, I will give you a freebie of my masterclasses at the end of this session, so you can get one completely for free. And once you've signed up to that, you'll then be able to get access to purchase any of the rest of my masterclasses. I've got 17 masterclasses available, one for each leadership principle, and then a full-on end-to-end step-by-step interview preparation masterclass. Okay. Oh, good person. I already did that one, so I can jump over that. Oh, okay. Yep, quick one here for Doubtful. No, Loop is one-to-ones. It's just a series of one-to-one interviews. So whether you have 5, 6, 7, 8, however many of them, they're all one-to-one, and they might be all in straight succession in a single day, or they might be spread across different days. But it's never, you're never sat in front of a screen with 7 people on it or 4 people. It's only ever a one-to-one. Hope that helps. Moving on. Okay. Hey, Isabella. That's an unusual way to spell Isabella, or at least from a British point of view. Hi, I'm not sure how an AE I don't know what an AE is. People, you have to stop using acronyms. I don't know every single acronym in the entirety of Amazon. There will be tens of thousands of acronyms across the whole of Amazon. But AE acquisition exec, I don't know, that reached out to you on LinkedIn will help you during the interview calls. He told me he would support me, but I don't know how. What should I ask him at first? Okay, so I don't really know what an AE is, but I'm going to assume it's your recruiter, and you can ask them anything, right? Anything you want, ask, and they'll either tell you they can't tell you, or they'll tell you the answer. So don't worry about what they're supposed to do. Just ask them anything you'd like them to do, and worst case scenario, they'll tell you they can't tell you. Nothing lost. So that's my advice there, assuming I've got a contextually correct. Okay. Oh, okay. VAMC, right. Relational database service. Now I understand what you're talking about. Yes, I would definitely expect that you would get technical elements for relational database type stuff. So yeah, expect it. Prep, systems design type stuff. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Ooh, this is interesting, Zuriel. Wow. All right. So you finished your loop. You got an email from Recruiter all week saying that they're not done with all the applicants. No conclusive results yet. This is interesting, because this is not the way the Amazon interview process is supposed to work. They are not supposed to be comparing you to other candidates. They are supposed to be comparing you to an expected standard and see if you raise the bar on that standard or not. This is very interesting because this is totally against the way the process is supposed to work. So I have no answer for you, Zuriel, other than to say this is strange and unusual. And it's to my point that I said at the beginning, where the Amazon interview process is not one process. Not everybody goes through exactly the same experience, and it's always changing and always evolving. Gosh, I'm going to try and reach out to some recruiters in seller support to see if I can find out what they're up to. Interesting. Thank you, Zuriel, for sharing. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on very quickly. Venkata. So you've got a phone interview. Will it be more technical, behavioral, or mixed? I can't tell you because, to my point a minute ago, all teams do it differently. So some teams will do 100% kind of going through your resume, why Amazon, tell me about yourself, and nothing else. Some teams will do that and ask behavioral questions. Some teams will do that and then do technical only. Completely up to the team. There's no set standard. So the best person to ask Venkata is your recruiter, because they will know how that team is playing the game. Okay. Yeah, okay. Interesting, Albert. I love the confidence here, Albert from Ghana. You were interviewed in 2020. You didn't progress beyond the second round. You were a data analyst. You easily aced the live coding. Okay. What can you do to sail through the process next time? It's not enough to be technically strong. You have to raise the bar on the behavioral competencies. So to sail the process next time, you have to understand the leadership principles inside out. You have to have incredibly strong examples from your career history. You have to articulate those examples based on what the interviewer is looking for in the leadership principles. And you need to structure your example so that it demonstrates impact, gives the right seniority signals, gives the appropriate context, helps the interviewer see that you have a plan of action, all of those things. So you know what I'm going to say. My course will teach you all of that. I don't usually plug my course. I'm very British. I think you'll see other Amazon interview coaches who push their content far harder on their channels and on their free sessions than I do, because I'm incredibly British. Oh, it's probably a little bit of a drawback, but check out my course. I think it will help you quite materially if you're serious about making it the next time through. Okay. Yes, Jason, I'm a big Monty Python fan, as you can would imagine, being British. Yeah, big Monty Python fan. So I don't know if that's a compliment from you or not, but I'll take it as one. Right, moving on then. Just conscious of time. We haven't got very long left, and I have to take my son somewhere. I would love to stay on longer. Let me just see if I've got a couple of others that might be useful for everybody. And then don't go, because you will miss out on, I promise you, an incredible freebie. Okay. I'm just quickly scrolling, quickly checking. Okay, I'm going to do this very, very quickly. I'm not going to bother pronouncing your name. I'm sorry. It would take me too long. Apologies. You don't have enough stories for an SDE1. Okay, you're an SDE1. You'll be fine. SDE1s, from my experience, you really aren't expected to have that many stories. Generally, the feedback that I've had working with software development recruiters is you probably need to prep 6, 7, 8 stories, something like that, which is far less than I would usually recommend, because so much of your interview is actually going to be about your coding skills. Now, you clearly have to do a good job on the behavioral side of things as well as you do on the coding, but you're not going to have as many questions as probably someone else who isn't doing an SDE type interview is going to have. So aim for 7 or 8. Okay. Right. Let's have a look. So I'm going to do one more. I'm so sorry, everyone, if I haven't got to you. I'm so sorry. I will talk about next time how you all can prioritize some of your questions so that you can get to the top. What else do we have? One more. Oh, okay. Isabella, just ask what you need. Don't worry about what you should be asking for, just ask. They can always say no, okay? When someone hands you a gift of being willing to support you, don't double guess it, right? Just ask. Right. Okay, I'm just trying to find one more that I think will be useful for everybody, but I think we may need to check out because I have to get my kids' dinner on. So here, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop now. I'm going to need to talk to you next time about how you can get your answers prioritized. But here we go. So I said I would give you the best freebie on YouTube. And seriously, this is the best freebie. Do not pass this opportunity up. Go to the AmazonInterviewWiz.com and there you can get my free Customer Obsession Masterclass. It will tell you about the different facets of customer obsession. All of the leadership principles actually have nuances embedded in them. And I know them because I'm so familiar with them. I've created this kind of concept called facets, and I use it to teach the leadership principles. So it will tell you the 4 different leadership principles for customer obsession. It will tell you pretty much exactly what your interviewer is looking for in your customer obsession answer, literally what they're looking for. And there will be a little mock interview, me interviewing me, so you can see how that then can work out in an actual interview itself. I give customer obsession because pretty much every single one of you, I'm sure you're not surprised, will be asked customer obsession at some point if you make it the whole way through the process. And if I'm going to give money away, I would prefer to give money away for content that people will actually benefit from. So please take it. Honestly, I don't chase you up. There's no going to be follow-on marketing or anything like that. I just hope that you really love my content and that you come back and buy more. And if you don't, well, there you go. There's a gift. I'm quite happy to give people gifts. So on that note, I am going to have to go and feed my children, but thank you for coming. I will be back again on Monday. For those of you who secured jobs, yay, thank you for coming back. And if you have an interview coming up in the next next week, I wish you the very best of luck. If you have further questions, you can always put questions in the comments of the appropriate video in my YouTube channel. I'm sorry if I haven't made it to you this week. I will try to do better next week, although I'm not sure how I do. But anyway, take care, be safe.